Ever craves a turkey tail sandwich that's, well, illegal or has snail slime, but like as a superfood?
Sounds adventurous.
That's Ghanaian food for you. Bold flavors, deep traditions, and sometimes, the power goes out mid-meal.
That's part of the charm. It's more than just the food. It's a whole cultural experience.
And that's what we're diving deep into today, the world of Ghanaian food.
From street eats to fancy restaurants, we've got it all covered.
We're using 2 YouTube videos from Best Ever Food Review Show as our guide, so big shout out to them.
Great source material, super in-depth.
So for anyone listening, what are you most curious about? What do you want to know?
I think we should start with the basics. The heart and soul of Ghanaian food culture.
Perfect. What did our videos reveal about that?
Well, first, Ghanaian cuisine is super diverse, 16 different regions, different ethnic groups. It's a real melting pot of traditions.
That makes sense. But is there like a common thread running through it all?
Absolutely. Carbohydrates are king. Rice, plantains, yams, cassava, corn flour, beans. These are the staples.
And usually served with those really flavorful soups and stews, right?
Exactly. And they're not shy with the spices either. Ginger, garlic, onion, and yeah, they like it spicy.
Now, I remember the videos mentioned smoked fish being a pretty big deal too.
Oh, for sure. Smoked fish is more than just flavor. It's a traditional way of preserving food,
Resourcefulness.
Exactly. And it really adds that extra depth and complexity to the dishes.
Okay, enough with the intro. Let's hit the streets. Street food, here we come.
There's no better place to start than with chopi, aka turkey tails.
The infamous illegal turkey tail sandwich. What's the deal with that?
Well, the government banned importing turkey tails, health concerns, but that hasn't stopped people from wanting them.
Supply and demand, even if it's on the down low.
Exactly. It's like a culinary underground scene, defying the rules.
I can only imagine those street vendors, always looking over their shoulder. Okay, next up we've got gobe, which sounds like the ultimate power breakfast.
It is. It's gari, which is like grated and dried cassava with oil, beans, and a fried egg. Quick, cheap, and packs a protein punch.
This gari thing, I'm not familiar with that.
It's a staple in West African cuisine, basically cassava root, grated, fermented, dried, and you get this coarse flour.
So gobe is like really resourceful, using local ingredients to make something delicious and affordable.
Totally. It speaks to their ingenuity, adapting to whatever's available.
Okay, from the familiar to the slightly more adventurous, we have TZ. What's that all about?
TZ is a dish made with corn flour and cassava flour. It's served with this slimy green sauce.
Slimy green sauce. What's in that?
Jute leaves. It's called a curry. And you have a protein stew, often made with beef organs, to go with it.
Okay, not gonna lie. Slimy green sauce and beef organs. It's a bit out there for me.
It's all about expanding our palates, right? Different cultures, different tastes.
True enough. So next we have jibom, which I hear is their version of an egg sandwich.
You got it. Fried egg in bread with fresh veggies and a healthy dose of shito, which is this spicy Ghanaian chili oil.
So it's familiar, but with a Ghanaian twist.
Exactly. Fusion food at its finest.
Now, for those late-night cravings, there's pork D, which is
roasted pork seasoned with, get this, cloves and cinnamon.
Interesting combination. It's amazing how spices can transform simple ingredients.
For sure. They add that extra layer of flavor, the depth, the complexity.
Last but not least, we've got shinkafa. Now, this one sounds like a serious carb overload.
Oh, it is. Rice, beans, pasta, beef stew, and cow skin.
Cow skin.
It's got this interesting gelatinous texture, adds a unique element to the dish.
Okay, I'll take your word for it on that one. Now, onto a topic that always sparks debate: jollof rice. Ghana versus Nigeria.
The ultimate culinary rivalry.
So break it down for us. What are the key differences between Ghanaian and Nigerian jollof?
Well, the type of rice is a big one. Ghanaian jollof typically uses fragrant basmati or jasmine rice. Nigerian jollof uses parboiled long grain rice.
So Ghanaian is more aromatic and Nigerian is
bolder, smokier. The cooking techniques vary too. Everyone's got their secret methods.
Sounds like a tie to me. It's all about personal preference.
You said it. Best way to settle the debate is to try both and see which one wins you over.
Now, besides rice, the videos also highlighted some other interesting carbs. There was cocoa, which is...
it's fermented corn dough, steamed inside corn husks, and it's often paired with, well, this might surprise you.
Hit me with it.
Salted pig feet soup.
Whoa, okay, that's a combo I wouldn't have thought of.
See, Ghanaian cuisine is all about embracing the unexpected.
Then there was tatal, which is...
a savory plantain pancake, often served with a boy, a thick vegan stew made from bambara beans.
So you got the crispy pancake and the hearty stew. Great mix of textures.
Exactly. Shows how adaptable Ghanaian cuisine is. There's something for everyone.
Now let's shift gears a bit. We're entering the world of fine dining with Chef Mame.
She's a real trailblazer, trained in New York City, and now she's back in Ghana, elevating traditional cuisine to fine dining status.
Her restaurant, Gastro, sounds incredible. Tasting menus from $100 to a whopping $1,000 per person.
Could be the most expensive restaurant in Ghana, pushing the boundaries of what's considered high-end.
And she's aiming for a Michelin star, which would be huge, not just for Ghana, but for all of Africa.
A real testament to the quality and potential of Ghanaian cuisine.
One of the dishes featured was Kosana Meko, Chef Mame's take on a classic street food dish. What makes her so special?
It's her culinary expertise and presentation, taking something simple and elevating it to a whole new level.
Respecting the roots, but adding that touch of refinement.
Precisely.
Okay, on to a more complex topic, bushmeat. There's a controversial issue, raising questions about tradition, sustainability, and conservation.
It's a tough one for sure. Bushmeat is deeply ingrained in Ghanaian culture, especially in rural communities. It's a source of protein, a way of life.
But we saw in the videos that unregulated hunting can have a devastating impact on wildlife.
Yeah, that Kumasi bushmeat market. It was eye-opening, to say the least. Hundreds of animals processed every day. The scale of it was shocking.
And then, of course, there was that pangolin being sold illegally. It's so sad to see an animal pushed to the brink of extinction.
It really makes you think about the consequences of our actions, even something as seemingly simple as what we choose to eat.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a more hopeful topic, snail farming. It's amazing to see how people are finding innovative ways to provide sustainable sources of protein.
Right. And those giant West African snails, they're incredible. Did you know they're hermaphrodites?
No way. So each snail has both male and female reproductive organs.
Exactly. It's wild. And people are making all sorts of dishes with them, from kebabs to stews, even using the snail slime.
Snail slime, now that's something I'd have to see to believe.
You and me both. But hey, different cultures, different delicacies, right?
Yeah, not said to the coast. Elmina, the fishing hub of Ghana.
Elmina is all about fresh seafood and traditional smoking methods. It's like stepping back in time.
That fish market was insane. I've never seen such a variety of seafood in one place.
They had everything. Swordfish, stingrays, even shovel-nose rays.
And those women smoking the fish in those open-air ovens, that was incredible. A true art form.
Preserving traditions, one smoky fish at a time. And it really added something special to the dishes we saw, like the bangtu with the shito and fried tilapia.
So good. And then there was that ablakush dish, specific to the Gedangme people. Palm nut soup, crabs, and corn flour. So unique.
It's amazing how each region has its own distinct culinary traditions.
It's like each dish tells a story.
Exactly. A story about history, culture, and the ingenuity of the people.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing in Elmina. Remember those power outages? Must make running a restaurant quite a challenge.
It does. But it also shows how resilient those cooks are, adapting to whatever comes their way.
And of course, we can't forget about that encounter with the angry locals.
That was intense. A reminder that not everyone welcomes cameras and outsiders with open arms.
Definitely a lesson in cultural sensitivity and being mindful of our impact as visitors.
For sure. But despite that tense moment, we still managed to connect with people through food.
It's funny how food can break down barriers, even when communication is tough. So after all that, what surprised you the most about Ghanaian food?
Honestly, the sheer range of flavors, from fiery shito to delicate jollof rice and those complex stews. It's a culinary adventure, that's for sure.
I couldn't agree more. It's more than just ingredients. It's the history, the traditions, the passion behind every dish.
It's food that tells a story.
And that's what makes exploring it so fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. And it's not just the food itself, it's the whole cultural context that surrounds it. You know, one thing that struck me was the contrast we saw from those bustling street food stalls to that super high-end restaurant, Gastro.
Right. You go from grabbing a quick goby on the street to a $1,000 tasting menu.
The Ghanaian cuisine is embracing its roots, but also evolving, you know.
Totally. It's like they're saying, hey, we've got amazing food at every level.
And Chef Mame, she's really leading the charge with Gastro. Those tasting menus, they're pushing boundaries.
And her ambition to snag a Michelin star, that would be huge, not just for her, but for all of Africa.
It would put Ghanaian fine dining on the map, no doubt.
It really would. Now, we have to talk about the bushmeat issue. It's a tough one because it's such a big part of their food culture.
Yeah, especially in rural communities, it's a primary source of protein. But the impact on wildlife, that's the tough part to reconcile.
The videos really gave us a look behind the curtain. That Kumasi bushmeat market was intense.
The sheer scale of it was mind-boggling. And then to see that pangolin being sold illegally,
It was a wake-up call. Like, our choices have consequences even when it comes to what we eat.
it really does make you think. So where do you go from there? Well, that's where things like snail farming become so interesting.
Right. It's like, how do you balance tradition with sustainability? And snail farming seems to be one answer.
It's sustainable, it's nutritious, and it's a way to make a living. Plus, those giant snails are pretty fascinating.
They are, and they're hermaphrodites. Did you know that?
Yeah, you mentioned that before. It's still blowing my mind.
It's pretty wild. But it's all about finding solutions, you know?
And speaking of solutions, let's shift gears a bit and talk about Elmina, that coastal town. It seems like seafood is life there.
Oh, totally. Elmina is all about fresh seafood and those traditional smoking methods.
That fish market was an experience. The variety, the energy, the bartering, it was amazing.
And those women smoking the fish in those open-air ovens, that was incredible.
Talk about preserving tradition. And the flavor it adds, that smokiness. So good. We saw it in that Banku dish and also in that Aplakush dish, the one from the Gadangme people.
Right. Each region has its own specialties. It's fascinating.
But it wasn't all easy in Elmina. Remember those power outages? I can't imagine trying to run a restaurant with unreliable electricity.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. But those cooks, they just rolled with it. Talk about resilience.
And then there was that incident with the angry locals. It was a bit of a culture clash, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely a reminder to be respectful and mindful of local customs when we're traveling. Not everyone wants to be on camera.
It was a good lesson learned. But you know what? Even after that tense moment, we still found a way to connect with people through food.
Exactly. Food is a universal language. It can break down barriers even when communication is tough.
So true. So, as we reflect on this deep dive into Ghanaian food, what are your biggest takeaways?
Well, for me, it's the incredible resilience and adaptability of Ghanaian culture. They've faced challenges, but they've found ways to preserve their traditions while embracing new ideas.
I completely agree. And their food, it reflects that spirit perfectly.
It really does.
It really is. They've taken those challenges and turned them into opportunities to innovate. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ghanaian food, I keep coming back to this one question.
Let's hear it.
Could snail farming, or maybe other ways of producing meat sustainably, be a real solution for protein in Ghana? You know, bridging that gap between their traditions and, well, the need to be more eco-conscious.
That's the big question, isn't it? Balancing culture with conservation. And it's not just a Ghana thing. It's a global issue.
You're right, it is. But we did see some cool examples in those videos, like snail farming. It seems to be catching on. It's a good source of protein, it's sustainable, and it's relatively affordable.
And don't forget about those grass cutters. Apparently, raising them is becoming more and more popular in Ghana. They're easy to raise, they breed quickly, and people really like their meat.
It's like they're taking these traditional practices and adapting them for the modern world.
Exactly. It's ingenious.
Imagine, Ghanaian cuisine in the future. Still rooted in tradition, but also embracing new ideas and being environmentally responsible.
That's a beautiful vision. Food and nature in harmony.
It really is. Well, we've only just dipped our toes into the world of Ghanaian food, but hopefully this has inspired you to explore more. What dishes are you curious about now? Let us know. Share your thoughts.
And until next time, happy eating.